invitation to talk to you today about our baby program. It's only 6 months old, AGO First Thursdays. Just to give you a little bit of context for First Thursdays, we are entering into the second year of a 3-year strategic plan. And this is our first strategic plan since we opened our new Frank Gehry building in 2008. And we had been riding the wave of a new building, which museums who renovate or do new buildings can do for a period of time. And then it becomes business as usual, and then you have to have a long, hard look at what you're doing and how you're going to continue to connect with people when the launch of your sexy new building has faded into memory. So just a little bit of context and background for where our First Thursday program has come from. So we opened the AGO in 2008. In the first year or two of our opening, our attendance was pretty much 70-30 split. 70 first-time visitors, or at least certainly the first time they've been maybe since high school, and 30% repeat. And in the last 2 years, that has flipped entirely, which is 30-70 in the reverse. So 70% are return and 30% are new. So this really called out to us as we were going into our strategic planning, is that we had something serious to do around continuing to attract and engage audiences. That story isn't entirely a bad news story because 70% return speaks to a vibrant and robust membership program and a public program, or actually big P program that's bringing people back. But it doesn't speak to an institution who's growing its attendance or an institution that's growing its public impact. So we have identified for ourselves five strategic target audiences that we are working with very deliberately over the period of this 3-year strategic plan. And the First Thursdays program comes out of the research that we've done, and I don't think this is atypical of most museums, in particular most art museums, not just in Canada, but also in North America more broadly, is that 20-something and 30-something audience is very elusive. That they came to the art museum, certainly in the case of the AGO, they came on a yellow school bus at some point, generally, not all of them. And then they've been through a school system that has had very little formal education in visual arts. And they're our audience of the future. Also, too, in the internet age, how they consume their culture is very different from an older generation. We know all of these things. And so the kind of analog, single sensory mode of the art museum isn't understood to be appealing. So if we were interested in growing audiences, particularly in this segment, we call them the young cosmopolitans, the 20 and 30-somethings that live downtown, sort of within spitting distance of the AGO, newly professional, they've got some money to spend. They're living either with roommates or in very small condos, so they're socializing outside of the home. But we know also from our research is that they're interested in socializing, but with content. They're interested in unique experiences. And we felt that the AGO, we had something in particular that we could offer that audience. The other target audience for the museum and for this particular program is what we call the creative industries. And that's all the people broadly described in the biz, as we call them. Artists, architects, graphic designers, everybody in the design and creative industry. So that's the two target audiences. But in particular, the thing we really felt we needed to crack if we were going to survive, and the speaker on YouTube at lunch spoke to this about, this is certainly in the last 5 years, this is the first time that cultural institutions have started to think about if they can remain valid and if they can stay open. And if we don't build audiences for the future, I think our future is shaky at best. So let me talk to you a little bit about First Thursday. So this is what we wanted to do. We had a couple of goals for ourselves. We wanted to make a crowd. We wanted to see if we could drive incremental visits, people who wouldn't typically come or hadn't come to the AGO in the past from these two segments. I'll just tell you for interest, the other 3 segments that we're targeting over the next 3 years are children and families, students and teachers, and what we call creatively active adults. That's sort of the 45 and up set, the people who typically make up our membership. So these are 2 segments that we typically have not done very well in attracting to the museum. We also wanted to rebrand the AGO in people's minds. When we did the advanced research for First Thursdays, what this audience was telling us is that, well, they loved the AGO and they were glad it was in Toronto and they felt it made Toronto a better place to be. But they also described us as elite and educational and sophisticated. Now, those aren't bad things, those are pretty good things, but they're not the kinds of things that you want to have in your head when you're thinking of a great time to go out in the evening and sample culture with your peers. So this was really about positioning the AGO as a different kind of institution in the minds of this audience. We also wanted to make art fun. Again, I spoke about this sort of single sensory mode that we have for presenting art. Often people think art museums in particular should be quiet. It's generally no touch. You think and speak in whisper tones. So we know that if we are going to engage a broader audience, particularly an audience that is consuming culture when they want it and how they want it, in their car, on their phone, in their pajamas, in their basement, that we absolutely had to create a reason to compete with the way they consume culture every day, a way to get them off the sofa and to the AGO. And also, too, we wanted to make it smart. We have watched, as you know, I'm sure many of you know, that museums across North America are embarking on these late-night programs. And they put an enormous strain on museums because there are customization of programming with a big social element. They're things that we don't typically do on a regular basis. So how could we be really smart about the programming side of it so we didn't kill ourselves doing this? So how could we activate the architecture, the existing programs, the existing collections in a way that could really fuel this program? So those are the goals. And here was the secret sauce mix that we developed for ourselves, pretty much in this order, that to make the event, these were the pieces that absolutely had to be in place. It had to always be about art, first and foremost. We did not want this to be drinks in a cool place. This had to be about art with fabulous drinks included. It has to be about artists. We want to forefront artists as much as possible. Art making is a very immediate way to connect with art, particularly for people who maybe haven't studied art. And this is a great way to start to understand what it means and what it might mean to use if you have a chance to actually make it for yourself. Participating in art to communicate a much more active kind of engagement and exchange with the public. Also live music we knew was key. Drink, very key, and food was very, very key. But that mix, now we had the benefit of watching a lot of other museums do this first and understand how they had positioned themselves and how we might want to position ourselves vis-a-vis that. So that was the secret recipe. And this is what we said success would look like for us at the beginning. We'd be really happy. In fact, I'd said I'd do backflips on Dundas if we had 1,500 people a night by March. So we've just finished March, and I'll tell you about where we ended up. That we would have email addresses for all attendees. Because we knew if we were successful in getting first-time visitors, and it was in this age demographic, the way we were going to stay in touch with them was to have their email. So this was a success indicator for us early on, that we had to be able to show that we had demonstrable reach into these two targets. That we would not do marketing as we typically do, that we would try and work exclusively with social media and ultimately word of mouth to market this event. And that through our research, participants would tell us that we were top of mind as a destination for culture and a great night out. So here's how the secret sauce, the secret recipe looks in our museum. So absolutely every night, so it's the first Thursday of every month, we've done 6. We took April off because we have one of our signature fundraisers in April, and we'll be kicking off in May again. So artist, here's Evan Penny with his work in the show. It is interesting. When we program a talk, 150 people at a contemporary artist talk is a big deal. He did 2 talks of 15, 20 minutes each, and there was 170 of each. So we've started doing pop-up talks. People from the community, interesting thought leaders and movers and shakers in the culture world talking about art in the galleries. This is Dave Bedini talking about the group of 7. Again, 15 minutes, again, sampling, just like you can sample drinks, sample foods, to sample the collections and get people into the deep recesses of the museum, places they may not end up on their own. Pop-up performances. This is Sukyin Lee and her partner doing a performance in the Maurice galleries. Pop-up art projects. This was a whole night that we programmed in partnership with OCAD students, bringing street art into the museum, up for one night only. We do life drawing. People line up to do life drawing, and love the nudity because it feels adult and feels exclusive. So we keep bringing back life drawing. We found that people so rarely have the opportunity to sit with other people in a non-threatening environment. We have an instructor there to help if someone wants, but a very casual way for people to look and think, and you can do it with a cocktail in your hand. And then artist performances. These are our artists in residence, Life of a Craphead. They've just finished their residency, and they were really intrigued by this phenomenon of life drawing on a Thursday night, on these first Thursday programs. So they decided they wanted in on the act, except their life drawing session was called Nude with a Mic. So these are the artists posing. People are life drawing, but for 4 hours they talked to people and told jokes and talked to people about their drawing. So it was sort of an atypical life drawing. So this is a blend of art making, art participation, and meeting artists in a whole different up close and personal way. And this is the Gallery Italia at the front of the museum. This is in January. This is a group of 7 paint by numbers. And we had about 500 people do the paint by numbers, keep running downstairs to reprint the paint by numbers. Shocking, and people were very deliberate. They really wanted to pin theirs up so other people could see it. I mean, these are things that you think 6-year-olds only wanted to, or maybe 10-year-olds want to do. No, 35-year-olds want to do it too. Again, it speaks to sort of a creative outlet that I just don't think is in people's lives typically. And then this is a wheat pasting. This was a gallery that we just installed before we reinstalled the next collection. We just turned it over to street artists and did wheat pasting and collaged the whole gallery and then just peeled it off the next morning. This felt so illicit. You know, it was like writing on the walls with lipstick, you know, it seemed breaking all the rules. And then live music in the Walker Court. This has become sort of the heartthrob of the whole event. And we were really nervous about this, that this would become the draw and that we wouldn't be able to accommodate the people. But people are really spending an awful lot of time in the galleries. Some more examples of performance. And of course bars and food. It's a big, big part. And just like pasting on the walls or writing on the walls seems illicit, having a drink in the European galleries feels super illicit too. And typically that's a privilege that we've reserved for our highest level members to have a cocktail in the galleries. Why not let the public do it? And food. These are smoked bacon covered donuts. This was an interesting exercise in visitor research. Everything on offer that night had some form of pork in it. And visitor research, you might want to think about some non-pork options in downtown Toronto. Don't put bacon on the donuts. And then socializing, people hanging out for several hours with their friends. So what have we found? We reached 1,500 visitors in our second week. We're now selling out the event as much as 2 weeks in advance. We put May on sale on Friday afternoon, and we've sold 1,100 tickets. There's obviously a need and a desire to be part of our institutions. And I think the message for us is, right, this is not about reneging on our institutional mission or our artistic standards or our professional standards as museum practitioners. This is about thinking about what is our public responsibility, what does the value of our institution, what are the different meanings, value of our museums can have for our public, and how might we think about crafting our offerings to different kinds of audiences on their terms in a way that still holds our values and our mission near and dear. I'll end there.